Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question asks if I can analyze the relationship between Charles, Prince of Wales, and Diana, Princess of Wales, as well as his relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles, Duchess of Cornwall. Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. So first I'll look at the background of Charles, then I'll move to the relationship dynamics that we see in this case. Charles, Prince of Wales, was born on November 14, 1948, in Buckingham Palace, London, England. His mother was Princess Elizabeth, Duchess of Edinburgh, and his father was Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. His maternal grandfather was George VI, the King of the United Kingdom and Dominions of the British Commonwealth. When George VI died in 1952, Princess Elizabeth would become Queen Elizabeth II, and Charles would become her heir apparent. He would take on a number of titles due to this, including Duke of Cornwall. He would start school in 1956 rather than have a private tutor. After going to a couple of schools in England, he would go to school in Scotland in 1962, and he spent 2 terms in a school in Australia in 1966. In 1967, he started college in England and would graduate in 1970. He served in the Royal Air Force and in the Royal Navy. Charles learned to fly single and multi-engine fixed-wing aircraft and helicopters. He flew on occasion until he caused a crash in 1994. He had taken control of an aircraft just before landing. He hit the runway going 40 miles an hour too fast, causing landing gear tire failure. No one was injured. The pilot who allowed him to take control of the aircraft was blamed. Like many members of the royal family, Charles has been very active. He travels a lot, visits with world leaders, is active in charity. When he was younger, he dated a number of women before taking an interest in Lady Diana Spencer. They would first meet when Diana was 16 in 1977. Charles was dating Lady Sarah Spencer at that time, Diana's older sister. Charles was 13 years older than Diana. The romantic component between Charles and Diana started in 1980. They would be engaged in February of 1981, and they would marry in July of that same year. The difficulty was that Charles was in a relationship with another woman, Camilla Parker Bowles. They had met in 1971. Camilla had been dating a man named Andrew Parker Bowles on and off for several years, and she wanted to marry him. Charles tried to convince her not to marry Andrew, but in 1973, 4 years before Charles met Diana, Camilla married Andrew Parker Bowles. Now we see other stories that say that Charles never really shared his feelings with Camilla, and time to stop the marriage. It's difficult to know exactly what transpired. The royal family was not upset by Camilla's marriage to Andrew. They didn't want Charles and Camilla to be together. They believed she was not aristocratic enough, and they had concerns over her level of experience with men. On the other hand, Diana was part of the aristocracy and had no prior sexual experiences. Evidently, Camilla really did love Andrew, so it wasn't like the royal family pushed her out and she had to settle for somebody she couldn't get. Charles was actually her second choice. Andrew had a number of affairs during his marriage to Camilla. Eventually, Camilla and Charles started communicating in a romantic fashion. Camilla was about a year older than Charles, so close in age, and didn't treat Charles as if he was special. They were more like equals. Sometime in 1978 or 1979, the relationship would become physical. This is just a few years before Charles would marry Diana. Diana was aware of this relationship. Understandably, she wasn't happy about it. The physical part of the affair ended when Charles and Diana became engaged, but Charles kept talking to Camilla, apparently quite a bit. This put a strain on the marriage between Charles and Diana, but I think they had other problems as well. They just didn't seem to be a good match. In 1981, Diana became pregnant. In January of 1982, she would throw herself down a set of stairs due to feelings of inadequacy. In June 1982, Prince William was born, and Prince Harry was born in September of 1984. In 1986, Charles resumed the physical component of his affair with Camilla. He claimed he only did this after realizing his marriage was irretrievably broken down. Diana did not feel the same way. During a televised interview, she was asked about the breakdown of the marriage. She said, "There are 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." As it turns out, Diana had affairs as well, perhaps starting in the mid-1980s. Camilla and Andrew divorced in 1995, and Charles and Diana divorced in 1996. Diana was killed in an automobile collision on August 31, 1997. Charles and Camilla would marry in 2005. Camilla was given the title Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Cornwall. Even though she's technically entitled to do so out of respect for Diana, Camilla does not use the title Princess of Wales. It's not clear whose decision that really was. Like, did Camilla really have a choice about using that title or not? It's not known. In March of 2020, Charles would test positive for COVID-19. He recovered without incident not long afterward. The couple continues to engage in a number of royal functions and various other activities. Camilla has largely been accepted by the public. She was gradually reintroduced a few years after Diana's death. Clearly, Charles knew that his relationship with Camilla was a sensitive topic. I think that Camilla went from being blamed for the failure of the marriage between Charles and Diana to being the object of a happy story, star-crossed lovers who were eventually able to unite. What really happened in these relationships is a bit of a mystery. We see all these various reports about who said what to whom, who felt a certain way, different times when people met or they stopped seeing each other. Charles, of course, was born into an unusual situation, being a prince and everything. It puts a unique set of stressors on how somebody selects romantic partners. But I think the story is just as much about Camilla's complex relationship with Andrew. I don't think this was a one-sided situation where Charles was unavailable due to the requirements of royalty and Camilla was left out in the cold. I believe what happened with these two is they both had ambivalent feelings. Charles wanted to be with Camilla, but he had concerns about how that would be received by the royal family. Camilla didn't mind the idea of being with Charles, but she really liked Andrew. She found Andrew to be more masculine, brave, and rugged than Charles. So perhaps it was more of an immature attraction like we might expect in somebody younger. Camilla was only about 17 when she met Andrew. In a sense, perhaps Charles and Camilla both struggled with what they viewed as too many good choices. I don't really view any of them as ideal. Everybody was cheating at one time or another, but I guess it's all a matter of perspective. As far as the failure of the marriage between Charles and Diana, I think that Charles probably believed that talking to Camilla, leaning on her, pouring out his feelings to her, was okay as long as it didn't involve traditional romantic gestures like sex. In reality, this could have been an emotional affair. In many ways, they are actually much worse than physical affairs. In addition, it's difficult to know what negative contribution occurred from Diana's side. It was reported that Diana was erratic, emotional, manipulative, unpredictable, possessive, and self-centered. Additionally, she suffered from bulimia. Then again, many of her symptoms seemed to go away when she was separated from Charles, so perhaps she was suffering from Charles-induced emotional reactivity disorder. It just really speaks to the complexity of relationships. Perhaps Charles and Diana simply weren't good together. They weren't a good match. I think the overarching story of Charles, Camilla, and Diana is how people want different things at different times, and their reasons for wanting one person over another don't always make sense. Love is irrational. Charles seemed to connect with this when he made that famous statement, "Whatever in love means." Charles and Diana were asked about their love situation by a reporter. And looking at that clip, I don't know if he really meant anything by that. It seemed like it was just a nervous statement. However, perhaps he was seeing the shortcomings of where love takes someone, what it makes people do. The heart wants what it wants. This would not be the first time that love has been implicated as a motive for the reputational damage of royals. In the end, Charles ended up with the person he wanted. Camilla ended up with her second choice, although she seems quite content. And Diana lost her life. The last area I want to touch on has been how the public perceives the situation. I touched on this briefly earlier. Initially, Diana was a hero, and both Charles and Camilla were villains. Over time, the narrative and the perception has shifted substantially. Diana is sometimes portrayed in a more negative light than she was originally, and Charles and Camilla have both repaired much of the reputational damage they had initially sustained. Many people are now happy for Charles and Camilla. Nothing changed in what they did or didn't do in the past, but their image has improved. I wonder if this is really about a change in values, a recognition that no one really knows what's going on inside of a marriage. No one knows what a person is really like in that one-on-one context. People expected Charles to act in a certain way. After all, he was a prince. Now, many people just want him to be happy. If it's not a shift in values, perhaps it's just another expression of an age-old occurrence. People who physically survive longer have an opportunity to justify their actions, rationalize their decisions, and reinvent themselves more so than those who don't. Charles and Camilla survived, and Diana did not. Charles and Camilla have an opportunity to change public opinion. I think Charles has actually humanized himself quite a bit. He has demonstrated that members of the royal family are subject to the same laws as everyone else. They might be given everything material, like they're quite wealthy, and they're also, of course, famous, but they cannot escape love, for better or for worse. So those are my thoughts on Charles, Prince of Wales, as well as Camilla and Diana. Please put any opinions or thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be interesting. Thanks for watching.